Good evening, everybody. Welcome, dear listeners, to a very special episode of our podcast. Today, we celebrate love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between mother and child. I'm Joe Rios, your host, and in this Mother's Day episode, we honor all mothers around the world with heartwarming stories, profound reflections, and sincere gratitude. Mother's Day is an occasion to pay tribute to those extraordinary women who gave us all life, love, and unwavering support. Through intimate stories and touching moments, we'll explore the powerful bond that connects mother and children, transcending borders and cultures. From humorous anecdotes to life lessons that last a lifetime, each story shared is a tribute to the unbreakable love and selfless devotion of mothers. We'll dive into cherished memories, share deep emotions, and celebrate the legacy of love that every mother leaves in this world. So join us as we celebrate the maternal spirit in all its forms, from laughter to tears, from joys to challenges. Subscribe now to our podcast and join us in a journey of gratitude, love, and celebration in honor of Mother's Day. And when this episode airs, it would have already passed Mother's Day in America and in Mexico. Mexican Mother's Day is May 10th, and American Mother's Day is the second Sunday of May. So this is the second time recording this because the microphone was turned off the first time. Like I said in the intro, I'm Joe Rios, your host here. A little bit of background on me and my celebration of Mother's Day, my wife, my mom, and my grandmother. Feliz Dia de las Madres. My grandmother raised me for the majority of my life. While my mom was getting stuff together, doing her thing, not like abandoning me or no, she was doing her thing, making sure that when the time came, she could provide me with everything I needed. She was in my life. She wasn't out of my life or anything. She was a big part of my life. But my grandmother raised me. I lived with her almost my entire life. And, sacrifices have to be made. And I understand this. So I don't say anything bad because I love my mom. I love my grandma. Yeah. So for Mother's Day, I bought my wife a gallon jug of Tabasco sauce. I say this later on in the episode. She loves that thing more than life itself. We have kids. She loves the kids, but jug is above me, guaranteed. If there was a fire in this house, it would be the kids and the jug. Then maybe me if there's time. But in all honesty, I love my wife. I love my mom. I love my grandmother. Happy Mother's Day to all of y'all. And let's get on with the episode. Bam. Now, it may sound like I'm frustrated right now because I just recorded, quote unquote, record 20 something minutes. First of all, my microphone was turned off. I turned it back on. Then I realized I recorded. I was. It's okay. Get the jitters out. We got this. Do this one more time. It beats me up personally. I'm just like, that should not have happened. But it did. Anyways, Mexican Mother's Day or Dia de las Madres is a colorful celebration and homage to mothers across the country. This special day is one of the most busiest and most important days in Mexican culture, both socially and religiously. But like I said, Mother's Day is on May 10th. That's when it's celebrated in the U.S., or not the U.S., in Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, and other countries across Latin America. Because that day never changes. In the U.S., it's the second Sunday in May, meaning that the date changes annually. Occasionally, Mother's Day falls on the same day, May 10th, in both the Mexico and the U.S. Mother's Day in Mexico involves music, singing, food, and the giving of Mother's Day gifts. Children of all ages make a fuss about their mothers in various ways. Moms are called las reinas de la casa, or queens of the house, and treated accordingly. There are also special church masses on May 10th in which symbols of Mother Mary and her son Jesus take prominence. Many members of the Mexican Catholic Church also remember Our Lady of Guadalupe, a powerful symbol of motherhood, Our Lady of Guadalupe represents the Virgin Mary, who is believed to have appeared as an apparition to an indigenous Mexican peasant in the 16th century, which started off the country of Mexico. I don't know if to look at myself or at y'all, because my eyes are all over the place. In Mexico, some of the most common gifts are flowers, songs, just little tchotchkes to make your mom remember that she is a queen. So get her some candy, her favorite candy. You know what I got my wife for Mother's Day? I got my wife a gallon of Tabasco sauce. She loves Tabasco, so that's her pride and joy right now. It's sitting on the center of my table at the house. I'll post pictures on Instagram. It's funny, but she loves that thing. I swear, if the house were to burn down, she'd grab the kids and her Tabasco sauce and then try to wake me up. Had an itch on the top of my head, but I can't scratch it because I have a hat on. May 10th is one of the busiest days in Mexican restaurants. Many people take their mothers out to restaurants and treat them to meals. Although Mexican Mother's Day is not a public holiday, companies often let employees leave work early so they can be with their mothers. So in Mexico, it's such an important day. It may not be like in the U.S. where it's Mother's Day I don't think is a recognized holiday in the U.S., but hat go away. It may not be such like Independence Day, Christmas, Flag Day, whatever. Nationally recognized holidays where companies are supposed to give you time off for that. In Mexico, it's just so important that they're just like, look, get off early, go take your mom somewhere. However, Mexico's passion for music helps set it apart from the way other countries mark Mother's Day. Yes, there is a special song for moms. It's also sung on birthdays too. It's an important, special song that has many applications to it. Moms are often lavished with material gifts on Mother's Day in Mexico. Still, it's usually a personal tribute that gets mothers reaching for los pañuelos, the napkins, the tissues. Many sons and daughters who live out of town or just don't live with their parents anymore will travel back home on May 9th just so they can begin the festivities on May 10th. Suppose Mexican Mother's Day falls during the middle of the week. In that case, schools will often arrange special activities so children can sing to their moms. Singing is an integral part of Mother's Day in Mexico. With the Mexican passion for music known around the world, mothers often wake up their children, hear their children singing the serenade Las Mañanitas, sometimes by a hired mariachi band. Can you imagine waking up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning? Your kids are singing a beautiful song, and all of a sudden you hear a 4-piece band in your living room? Well, that happens in Mexico. That's a common thing in Mexico. But in the States, that's preposterous. I know if my kids were to wake me up like that on Father's Day, I'm fighting somebody. But in Mexico, that is a common thing. The traditional song compares the lucky recipient with the world's beauty at dawn. The song is also sung at Mexican birthday parties. So, I'm going to play a little bit of it. I know it's going to get flagged for content because it's the version I pulled is the most well-known version of all Mexico, sung by a god amongst men who recently passed away, Vicente Fernandez. I almost took time off of work for that too. That's enough before I get copyrighted. That's probably more than 10 seconds. But, you know, the little part that he's singing is Despierta, mi bien despierta. Mira que ya amaneció y los pajarillos cantan. La luna ya se metió. Qué linda está la mañana en que venga a saludarte. Venimos todos con gusto y placer a felicitarte. Translated, wake up, my love, wake up and look. The dawn has come. The little birds are already singing, and the moon has gone to bed. How pretty is this morning? This morning, I've come to greet you. We're delighted to have come here with joy to congratulate you. And my grandpa knows the songs off the top of his head. He sings it every now and then. It's not the funniest. It's like the most beautiful thing ever. Mother's Day in Mexico is all about mom. However, like most Mexican celebrations, great food is an integral part of the day. People eat at home and plenty head out too. Many kitchens and restaurants will produce abundant amounts of classic Mexican dishes on Mother's Day. Yeah, they are jam-packed and they have extras. And sometimes that extra does not even last because I've been to restaurants in Mexico around this time of year. I've been in the States too. They're jam-packed and you're not eating unless you get there early. So, some of the classic dishes on Mother's Day are mole, sopes, pozole, and enchiladas. Mole is a spicy sauce featuring dried chiles, seeds, and sometimes chocolate. Many cooks have a secret, unique recipe, giving the dish an individual spin. Mole is peanut butter chocolate sauce. I don't know why in my notes it says sometimes chocolate. No, that's what it is. Sopes, also known as picadita, are fried masa buns topped with various savory ingredients, including meat and vegetables. Kind of like a matzo ball. Pozole is a traditional meat soup or stew garnished with familiar Mexican ingredients such as avocados, limes, chili peppers, and onions. And enchiladas, oh, I love me a good enchilada, are baked corn tortillas that are filled with meat, cheese, potatoes, vegetables, beans, or a combination of the other ingredients rolled up tiny little thing. It's like a Mexican lasagna. That's the best way to put it. Don't be surprised to see barbecue fired up on Mother's Day too. If you are in the Yucatan Peninsula, a delicacy often served is cochinita pibil. Cochinita is little pig. So it's a slow roasted pig. So that is how to take a little sip. So let's do a history of Mother's Day. And this time we don't have a backdrop because I don't know, I guess they took it away because it was a what was it called? A beta feature. So and I guess they closed it right now. They introduced another feature which is media. So let's go to the next thing, whatever. We have an intro. If y'all saw the intro, Riverside Mobile. Watch me on mobile. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. What is the history of Mother's Day? Humans have honored mothers and mother goddesses for thousands of years, with rituals dating back to ancient times. Checking my microphone, make sure I'm recording. The Phrygians, who inhabited parts of what is now modern-day Turkey between the 7th and the 12th century BC, held festivals of the Great Mother, a goddess known as Sibyl. The ancient Greeks had Rhea, and the Egyptians had Isis, who benefit from an annual festival in her name. The eight-armed Durga, who sits astride a tiger, is still the focus of large festivals in India, worshipped for being the true inner power of other gods. Mother Earth is a powerful force within pagan cultures too. In short, mothers and motherhood have been a powerful symbol throughout the ages. It's a lot. In the UK, Mother's Day started in the Middle Ages when children as young as 10 were often sent away from home to find work. People were allowed to return to their mother in so-called home church, where they were baptized on the fourth Sunday of Lent. Easter dates change each year, so Mother's Day changes every year in the United Kingdom. It's thought the British Mother's Day tradition didn't survive transportation to the Americas because people were too far from their home church and return and mark the day. I sit over here, so I guess the way I lean, we better move the microphone back, or maybe I can just that works. Cool. And in the United States, Mother's Day is on the second Sunday of May each year. Anna Jarvis started the Day of Recognition after holding a small memorial service for her mother. The peace activist Anne Reeves Jarvis on May 12, 1907. After several years of campaigning by Jarvis, President Woodrow Wilson made the second Sunday of May Mother's Day and a national holiday. Jarvis wished for white carnations to be a tribute to a mother. The modern take is to wear a red or pink carnation for a living mother and a white carnation for someone whose mother has passed. Commercialization has seen Mother's Day extend to aunts and grandmothers, which led to Jarvis seeking to abolish the holiday she helped create. Jarvis failed in her bid, and Mother's Day is now a prominent date on families' calendars. She wanted it to be just for moms, and then the greeting card companies got into it, and they were like, you know what? This is now corporate greed. Mothers do not deserve this. They deserve the day to be about them, not about propaganda for corporations. Down with it. It didn't work out. Because it was such a good thing. Mother's Day. Celebrate your moms. Who wasn't going to capitalize on it? Try not to yawn, so I'm drinking soda. And my water. Trying to get healthy. Got some doctor stuff coming up, so I'm trying to stay healthy. So the doctor can't say, oh, you need to do this. As in the United States, Mexican Mother's Day is a relatively modern tradition. On May 19th, 1922, Rafael Alucion was editor of the Mexican city newspaper El Excelsior. Excelsior! The U.S. version of Mother's Day was seeping into Mexican popularity. Mexican culture. So Alucion used his column to write an article pushing for the celebration of Mother's Day across Mexico. His campaign gained traction, and May 10th became the day Mexico would honor its mothers. Phrases you may hear are, Mama, eres la mejor, te quiero con todo mi corazón. In other words, Mom, you're the best, and I love you with all your heart. Whew. There's a lot of stuff, man. Mayan culture had its own way of idolizing mothers, too, and we've talked about some of this. Between the 13th and the 16th century, before the Spanish arrived in pre-Columbia times, Mayans would undertake what we now call the Sacred Mayan Journey. People canoed from near Cancun, Yucatan, across the Gulf of Mexico to a small island called Cozumel. They took offerings to present to Ixchel, the goddess of the moon, childbirth, fertility, and the tides. Worshipping included ceremonies and dances, and people received divine messages to impart to their communities. And with all holidays, it has its good and bad. And in Mexico, people protest on Mother's Day, but not for the reasons you think. Mother's Day can be a challenging time for many people who have lost loved ones by their parents or children. In Mexico, there is a march on Mother's Day by people demanding to know the whereabouts of their missing children. The Mexican government has stated that more than 80,000 people count as desaparecidos, or disappeared, since the country's war on drugs started in 2006. Mothers and parents congregate to demand information and help finding their missing relatives. It is estimated more than 100 countries have a Mother's Day celebration, with different days and ways to mark the occasion. Many people give gifts, from flowers to cards to luxury purchases like spa treatments. I'm cheap. I don't do spa treatments. Whew, man. That's a lot of information. Mexican Mother's Day is held on May 10th every year and is a tribute to the women who brought everyone into this world. People buy gifts, sing, and treat their mothers to food and drinks. And as a thank you for the support and love and even admonishments they have given over the years. Mothers are a strong influence, whether they are biological, foster, adoptive, or other motherly type figures. As many Mexican mothers will have said to their children, Algún día me la agradecerías. One day you'll thank me for the wisdom I'm imparting on you. William Shakespeare used his play Henry V to describe the powerful influence living and remembered mothers evoke within their children. The quotation reads, "And all my mother came into mine eyes and gave me up to tears. The great bard captured how many people feel when they think of their mothers, bringing them to weep tears of joy. Whether it's Mother's Day in Mexico, the United States, or elsewhere, many people will wish a happy Mother's Day to beloved mothers both alive and past. And as a good child, don't forget to pass Mom some more enchiladas. So that's not where we're going to end because we got some stories too. Yeah, we got some stories. So the first one is La Maleniche, the polyglot. In 1500 to 1529, an indigenous woman who, with their intelligence and charisma, made herself heard. La Maleniche, also known as Doña Maria Malinti or Maliniali, was born Malinal, the daughter of an Aztec Huaquet or chief. After the death of her father, she was sold as a slave to traffickers from the southeast who taught her to speak Mayan. In 1519, Maleniche and 19 other slave women were gifted to Hernan Cortés. Very soon, Cortés understood the value of Maleniche's bilingualism, with whom she had a long relationship and a son. For a long time, Maleniche was the interpreter and guide to the Spaniards. Thanks to her, help many manage to make themselves understood throughout Cortez's travels. Maleniche became an indispensable as a translator, not only capable of translating from one language to the other, but of speaking, compelling, strategizing, and forging political connections. La Maleniche is a controversial historical figure. Some see her as the first betrayer of Mexico, as she played a significant role in the conquest of Mexico. The term Malenchinista in Mexico refers to a disloyal compatriot. However, many other scholars point out the dire conditions of her upbringing and of the many skills and intelligence that she demonstrated with her position, including preventing genocides and functioning as a liaison in the Aztec conquest between Moctezuma II and Cortés. Today, many see her as the mother of the mestizo race, which is all of us. I have to sneeze. There he goes. Sorry about that. So that is one of the most common mothers. But she is the mother of all Mexicans. Not Aztecs or Mayans, but Mexicans, as we are today. She may have been the first to betray her country, but she did it because she needed to survive. It's one of those things. It's like that guy off of Man. If you watch the movie, there's one guy who translates for the Japanese army in the first movie. Who translates for the Japanese army in the first movie, but he's doing it to survive, but he's actually helping at the same time. Next is Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, the scholar. Inés de Aspaye y Ramírez de Santillana entered the religious order of Jeronimas when she was only 21 years old. Her writings reveal a great passion for incessant knowledge, so much so that in one of her letters she claims to feel more desire for knowledge than for food. Many of her confessions contradicted the patriarchal society from the time, especially since freedom of spirit was not allowed, especially in the case of women, learning to read from the age of 3 and showing a great fascination for letters and studies from a very young age. Juana Inés was one of the first women in history of Mexico to achieve high-level education. Driven by her passion for writing, she defended the role of women in New Spain on multiple occasions by publishing various texts and poems, being a figure in the literature of the time and a pioneer in defending the rights of women. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz left in her wake a great legacy that is still remembered to this day. So she could be the mother of education in Mexico and why women have rights in Mexico. Even though that's a controversial topic I'm not going to get into. And there's so many up here, from doctors, revolutionaries, for just informants, symbols. Frida Kahlo, the mother of creation, of art. Maria Felix La Doña, the writer. In Mexico, strong women are a very powerful thing, but they are not as revered as they should be. I'm actually going to talk about one that I know a little bit about, my wife knows a lot more about, and it is Petra Vela. Now it's Pertravela. Now I'm going to read a little bit about it, and then I'm going to tell you everything I know about her. Travella de Vidal Kennedy, from 1823 to 1885, was a Mexican rancher, philanthropist, and matriarch of a prominent South Texas family in the 19th century. Her parents were Gregorio and Josefa Resendez Vela, and she was born in Mier, Mexico in 1823 as one of 17 children. Her father, Don Gregorio Vela, settled on 2 leagues in the Santa Teresa Grant, north of the Rio Grande, which that loosely translates to Spain gave this family 2 grants of land. So what does that mean? This is a controversial thing, so I'm just going to touch on it a little bit. So when Texas officially became a state, which is around this time, the land did not belong to Mexico. So when Mexico gave land to Texas to become Texas, the original plots that were there should have gone back to its original owner, which would have been the King of Spain. So there's a bunch of controversy behind that. And I'm not going to get into it because that's like a 2-hour discussion. But back to what it's going to. Petra married Mifflin Kennedy in 1854, and they had 10 children together, including John Gregory Kennedy Sr. Petra was already the mother of 8 children when she married Mifflin, and he adopted all of them. Petra died in Corpus Christi in 1885, and her children eventually died out. Wrong. The name Vela may have died out and been married off. The line, the lineage, still continues to this day. And this family owned everything. So basically, Corpus Christi down, they owned the equivalent of the city of Dallas. Like if you type in, go to, google.com, type in the city of Dallas and like acreage or size, they owned a little bit under there. Let's see, how big is the city of Dallas? How big is the city of Dallas, Texas? I need acreage. Okay, so the city of Dallas is 247 acres. Their ranch was approximately 235,000 acres. So that's just mind-boggling. They were the most influential in Mexico. They were in Texas. They are Texas. Texas wouldn't have been as much as what it is now, South Texas, without them. From Corpus Christi down, they owned it. That was theirs. So they owned that. They owned part. They were silent owners in the King Ranch. Yeah, I would say you could look it up, but if I tried looking it up through the history of the King Ranch, and it doesn't exist. But they own part of the King Ranch. Their story is one insane that I know personally because my wife is a descendant of Petra Vela. And it says the family died out. That's how I know they didn't die out. I've seen the family tree. I've seen the crest of arms. They have a family crest from Spain. This is insanity. The 2 bell towers, or the 2 bells in Corpus Christi at the college, were donated by Petra Vela. They have classes to her too. So they are South Texas royalty at the top tier. That is the mother of South Texas. So, very powerful member. One of my favorite stories that I know of the family, and there's historical documentation of this story, is that one of their cousins One of Petrovella's, I believe, kids, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was their kids. One of them went down to, I want to say, Tombstone, one of those big lawless cities. There were some sheriffs there, some lawmen, some of the most famous lawmen in history. And there was a bar, a cantina, and behind this bar there was a apartment building attached to the bar, and it was owned by the mayor. So in this bar were prostitutes, like in all bars, and back in the day like that, it was common. And the family, the cousin, went there, and he was in love with the prostitute. And he goes and he knows about the mayor, so he goes back to the apartment, and he sees someone there. He doesn't know who's there. He thinks it's the mayor, so he shoots up the apartment, kills the prostitute. So now the mayor is on him. They're like, we know who did it. They send these lawmen, some of the most famous lawmen in cowboy history, after him. They take him out to the desert and beat him within an inch of his life and leave him for dead. And he survives. That is a powerful statement of like the will to survive. That's crazy. Love makes people do crazy things. But yes, that is a powerful mother because she owned everything South Texas. Now you may say like they came like if you read her history, her husband Kennedy bought up a bunch of stuff and they made all their money, but she already had money. She was already a prominent figure before she got remarried. So it wasn't they made money blah 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 because they got no, she was already prominent. He was a good businessman. He was in the military. He was a steamboat operator, ferrying people from place to place, and that's how they made their money. And they grew and they grew and they grew, and they owned all of South Texas essentially. But it was her that was a real push behind it. Like they say, behind every strong man, there's an even stronger woman, and this was the woman behind him. The Kennedy family. And I have books and stuff over them because, like I said, I'm part of the family now. So they gave me some of the books and everything. It's like a package when you marry into the family. They're like, here's our history. Try to compete. I can't compete with that. My family were bar owners from Mexico. That's about it. We're drunks. The closest thing to history my family has is the Mexican army came through town. One of my relatives was a store owner, and after a certain time, they couldn't sell alcohol because it was illegal. And the military was like, "Sell us your alcohol." He was like, "No." So they shot him dead in his house. That's the only history I got that's worth something in my family. My wife's thought it's crazy. So let's do another story. The hardcore revolutionary. Carmen Cerdán, November 11th, 1875, August 21st, 1948. Tenacious revolutionary who fought with her mother and brothers against the dictatorship of Porfirio Diaz under the nickname Marcos Cerratos. She dedicated herself to printing and distributing proclamations as well as distributing weapons to fight against his regime. She went clandestinely past the anti-porfirista propaganda and made actual bombs with gunpowder and dynamite. On November 18, 1910, Porfirista soldiers and policemen arrived at her house, and a shootout took place that lasted many hours. Her brother Achilles died there, and she went to prison. Later, she joined as a nurse in the hospitals of the fighting forces. When constitutionalism triumphed, Carmen withdrew from public life. That's powerful. see. It's rounded out with Frida Kahlo. Just a short excerpt because Frida Kahlo is well known. Without a doubt, one of the women who has raised the name of Mexico with her talent is Frida Kahlo. Her characteristic style is to express herself and capture her reality through painting after suffering a spectacular accident is what led her to stand out at the time, and that today continues to be a unique type of art within the surrealist current of this same. Consider a promoter of women so that many more like her could make their way into the artistic world, defending their customs and the rights of women at that time, being considered a banner of Mexican art. Sometime later, it would also be taken as an emblem for the feminist movement that would come in later years. The mother of creativity, Frida Kahlo. There is a lot of very strong, powerful women in Mexico and across the world. So, by the time this episode airs, Mother's Day would have passed. Because as I'm recording right now, it is Mother's Day. This episode will air on the 13th. So, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Mexican Mother's Day already passed. Feliz Dia de las Madres. Make sure you call, talk to your moms, grandparents, whoever raised you, whoever is your motherly figure. Make sure you talk to them. Let them know how much you care about them and how they feel. And like always, stay spooky. We're not doing weird news today. There really isn't nothing weird that I saw, so it's it. Stay spooky, my friends, and I will see y'all next time. We're cutting it 10 minutes short because I got nothing else. Later, guys.